Hi, I'm Jim, N4BFR. We're setting up portable, we're putting up our antenna, we're getting our radio on the air with a battery, and we're going to do the whole thing from here in the park. Now, why are we going portable? Because it's a good way to demonstrate all the different elements that go into an HF activation. In addition, we're going to be able to activate as a Parks on the Air station. That just means we'll be submitting our logs later on after we make contacts with folks, and they will get credit for working this particular park in the Parks on the Air activity. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to put up our antenna.
KN4NEH, this is N4BFR.
I hear you loud and clear. You know what? I bumped into Jack a few minutes ago. Let me see if we can. First thing we want to do is get our antenna set up. And we looked at two things to help us decide how and where we're going to do that. The first one was checking out the band conditions, and we looked at the maximum usable frequency that's on the air right now, and it says between 7 and 10 megahertz. So we're going to set up for 40 meters, which is on 7 megahertz. The second piece is we want to think about the direction we want our signal to go in. Now, we want our signal to go pretty much north to south based where we are in Georgia. In order to do that, we need to set up our antenna east to west, because the signal will go at 90 degrees to the direction of the dipole. So this dipole is set up east to west. We're going to just mount it up into some trees and be on our way. So we've laid out our antenna where we want it to go. Got my friend James here. We're getting ready to go to put up the antenna. We have one of these weights that you use for throwing things into a tree. We're going to throw some string up there and pull one end of the line up. Give her a shot. All right, nice shot. We'll grab the other end and tie it off to the antenna. I tied this string off on the bench so we didn't lose the end of it, but it's pretty easy to just undo it and keep going. So here's our antenna we made up with the insulator ends. Just gonna go ahead and tie this end to the insulator end here. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. All right, so we tie the end of the string to the insulator and we're gonna put it up in the tree. Now we're not really gonna mount it that high to start because we wanna tune this antenna before we get it on the air. So we'll just get it low enough so we can manage it hand to hand at this point. So I've got our connector here. We just wanna pull this up about head height so we can do some tuning on the antenna before we put it up to full height. We're gonna raise it up here and then we're just gonna use, that's about good. We're just gonna use this piece of string and a rock and let the rock hold it down until we're ready to put it up a little more permanently. All right, we're down at the east end of our antenna. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna throw a line in there to get the antenna up to about head height, and then we're gonna put it on our antenna analyzer and see if it's resonant. That's just fine. I'm tying this string off just to have it out of the way at the moment and just to be able to support the antenna. So now that I've got this tied off, what I want to have here, as you can see, I got the antenna just a little bit off the ground in an inverted V orientation, so we can go ahead and put an antenna analyzer on it and see if it's resonant on 40 meters. So here we are at the center of our dipole. We've got one line set up on the west side of the antenna, one line set up on the east side of the antenna, just enough to have it in an inverted V situation. We're going to go ahead now with our coax connected and put the antenna analyzer on it and make sure it's resonant on 40 meters. So we've got our antenna analyzer here, and it analyzes two things. It analyzes the SWR and the ohms impedance. What we ultimately want to be at is 50 ohms impedance and an SWR close to 1. Right now, the SWR we're at is 7.2 megahertz. We're at a 3. So if we turn this, we're going to see where the antenna is best right now. And it's best right about 6.9 megahertz. So we're going to take some off to try and get it close to the SWR we want. Now, how do we know we want to take some off? Well, here's a rule of thumb. If your antenna is too long, your frequency will be lower than you want it. If your antenna is too short, the frequency that's best resonant for the antenna will be higher than you want it. So we're too low, which means we need to take more off the antenna. So when we attach this, we just wrapped it around the cord. We didn't do anything special with it because we knew we were going to adjust it. If we're going to take about 3.5 feet off, I know for me that's about an arm's length, so I'm going to pull this about an arm's length, and wrap it again. Just let that hang. It really won't get in the way or interfere with what we're trying to do with this antenna. We'll pull this end back up. And go do the other side. All right, back on this end, just gonna unwrap it, do about an arm's length, wrap it up here. Let's go ahead and check the SWR now. We're gonna pull it up a little bit first, and then we'll check how we're doing on the meter. All right, let's go over the things we brought for our activation. In addition to our antenna, we've got our logbook here. We're making some notes there. We've got our ICOM IC7300 with the microphone attached on the front and 2 connections on the back. The first one is our antenna, which we already covered. The other one is power. Because there's no shore power here, no AC power, we brought a LifePo battery. That's a lithium oxide battery, and it will allow us to operate for several hours while we get on the air. That is just connected up using the same cable right into the power of the radio. All right, so we've got everything connected up. Let's go ahead and power up the radio. We're already on 10 meters, which is nice. Open up the squelch a little bit. And let's go ahead and tune our antenna. There's nobody on this frequency, so we're just gonna go ahead and push tuner and let it go and match the antenna we've got. So that's done now. We are ready to find a frequency and go on the air. It's so nice to be out on a park where you're away from all the natural interference and really just pick up contacts.
Unfathomable. So or you're just saying, so you call squat down, like, I'm off that kind of after dark, can't.
So next up, as you remember, find a spot you can call your own. I've looked at the meter as well as listened up and down, found a space that we can operate without people getting into us or us into them. So let's go ahead and call and see if anybody's using this frequency. Is the frequency in use? This is Alpha Alpha 1, Romeo Charlie. All right, so now that we found our spot, we're gonna tune one more time, just make sure we're right on that frequency. Now we wanna think about calling CQ. When we call CQ, we're gonna call CQ POTA, but it helps to add the park number. We looked this up before we came. We're at Park Kilo 2193, that's Panola Mountain Park in Georgia, and we're gonna go call CQ with that info. CQ Park's on the air. This is Alpha Alpha 1 Romeo Charlie AA1RC calling CQ from Park Kilo 2193, Panola Mountain, Georgia. And we may need to do that a few times before somebody comes back to us. CQ Park's on the air. This is Alpha Alpha 1 Romeo Charlie AA1RC calling CQ Park's on the air and standing by for a call.
Whiskey 4 Zulu Hotel Alpha.
Whiskey 4 Zulu Hotel Alpha. Good afternoon. Alpha Alpha 1 Romeo Charlie. You're 5959 into Park Kilo 2193.
QSL, you are 59 plus you here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I don't see you spotted on the board. Do you want me to get you up there?
Yeah, that'd be great. That would be terrific. Would really appreciate that. We just started our activation here and haven't had a chance to spot ourselves yet. Do you, can I get your name for the log, please?
Oh, yeah, my name is Corey, Charlie Oscar Romeo Echo Yankee.
All right, thanks, Corey. Appreciate the contact and the spot. Name on this end is Jim, and hope to work you again down the log, 73.
All right, Jim, have a good time at 73.
73 QRZ, POTA activation, Kilo 2193. This is Alpha Alpha 1 Romeo Charlie.
Kilo 4 Sierra Golf with.
Kilo 4 Sierra Golf Whiskey. Good afternoon, good morning. 5959 into Park Kilo 2193.
Kilo 8 Golf Quebec.
Kilo 8 Golf Quebec. Good morning. You are 5959 into Park Kilo 2193.
Kilo 1 Hotel November Delta.
Kilo 1 Hotel November Delta. Good afternoon. Good morning. You're still coming in 5'9", 59 here into Park Kilo 2193.
Roger, Roger. You got 259 here in Tennessee, Tango November.
QRZ, I heard the Alpha Zulu station trying again.
Alpha Zulu Oscar.
Whiskey 5, Alpha Zulu Oscar, good afternoon, or good morning, 5757 into Park Kilo 2193.
Out of the Fox Data, you're 5, dude.
Hey, thanks for Texas. We're not pointed that way, so getting into Texas is good. That means the bands are good today. Thank you very much for the contact, 73. QRZ, this is Alpha Alpha 1, Romeo Charlie, Parks on the air. So he gave me a 4-4 signal for it. That means my audio wasn't super clear, and my power level on the S meter was a 4. You can take a look here at the S meter, and we're watching it as we go along, and we're seeing the power and signal strength that those folks come through as we go through. Interpreting what's the difference between a 5 and a 4 as far as quality, really up to you as you go along. All right, taking a look at the logbook really quick. We started up here. I wrote down all the information. I know that we're going to keep the frequency and the band and the date the same, so I didn't really write it down again. Here's my note on which park I'm in, and I just keep track of the time, the report, and the little name and other information as we went along. Got 14 contacts so far. Let's see if we can pick up a couple of more before we wrap it up. Last call, CQ, CQ. This is Alpha Alpha 1, Romeo Charlie at Park Kilo 2193. Last call from Kilo 2193. This is Alpha Alpha 1, Romeo Charlie calling CQ, last call. You don't have to do that. You can just stop, but I like to do it in case there was somebody who was lurking. Now they know this is their chance to get in or miss out on the activation. Nothing heard. This is Alpha Alpha 1, Romeo Charlie Club Station with N4BFR operating, going QRT. Again, we need to identify the station and the operator, so we did that one time. QRT just tells people we're using the Q code that says we're ending transmission. And with that, we shut off the radio and start packing up. All right, so let's check in on how we did with our park activation today. We started at 1520 UTC, and we operated until 1540. In that 20-minute period, we got 16 contacts in our log. So thanks to everybody who worked us. Next step is to put these into the electronic log, get them uploaded to POTA. We will do that after we get packed up from our activation and get back to the house. All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up. We got the team, everybody's helping out to pack up. We made about 20 contacts, had a really good time, got a lot of things set up. So hopefully you see this, you get a chance to do some activations on your own. Just want to recommend as you're packing up, don't leave a trace. Leave it at least as good as when you got here, if not better, so everybody can use the parks and enjoy them. 73 for now. We'll see you on the air soon.